Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Leadership Void podcast. I'm Enrique with my co-host Vince to bring you the best in our veteran, military spouse, and first responder community. And Vince will introduce today's guest.
Absolutely, Enrique. Thank you so much for that. You know, we're thankful and closing out 2023 with this young man. He's also giving back to the community. What a way to give back. And you share more about what he's doing. But who is it? It's John Batman Kalish. He's the founder of A Hero for Kids from St. Cloud, Florida. John, thank you for being on the show. Tell us a little bit about you.
Good morning, Vince and Enrique. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. I'm kind of a little nervous, a tough act to follow. You had a general on the last podcast, an Air Force general on top of that. But I'm an Army veteran. I have decades of leadership. I've been sharpening my skills, I hope, to the good over the years. Most importantly, I consider myself a serial volunteer. Any opportunity to volunteer, and I made a couple of mistakes in the Army volunteering, but we won't get into that because that's just old and that's just throwing mud at my leaders in the Army. But working hard for the community is important to me. Working for our children, families, first responders, veterans, schools. I mean, there's a great need out there, and I am working hard to help fulfill that need.
Well, John, thank you for being with us today. It's not often that Vince and I get a fellow Bronx bomber with us, and then an alma mater. But so nice to have you. We are so fond of what you do for the children in our community. It's amazing what service, which has been bred through us in the military, ends up being when we come out. So as we talk about service, tell us about Heroes for Kids.
So I founded Hero for Kids about 12 years ago. It was built on the concept that it was always going to be all volunteer. We're not going to take any money that comes into us and take it for ourselves. We're not going to charge expenses to the community. When somebody donates something to us, they want to know that that's going to the community. No six-figure CEOs, no fancy second homes that we have. It was just extremely important that happens and that stays, and we've lived by that. Over the 12 years, we've helped thousands, literally thousands of children, hundreds of veterans, first responders, schools. We're partners in a lot of schools. We donate a lot to the schools. We just did our major Christmas event this past Saturday, and almost 500 children got their wish list fulfilled. And growing up, I grew up in the Bronx, and I'm going to keep saying Bronx, Vince, just so you know. And Enrique, go Bombers. I grew up in the Bronx, and we were poor, man. We were, there were a lot of Christmases we didn't get anything. And my dad, mom back then didn't really work. My dad worked 3 jobs, just trying to, keep a roof over our heads and feed us. And, now to be able to see the reaction of the children that we help and the smiles on the parents' faces that were wondering how they were going to do Christmas. It's heartwarming, man. And it's what I live for. Some people dream of being in Hawaii. I dream of helping families and the community. That's a Hero for Kids, founded on that. We've been doing it for 12 years. We're a 501c3. We have lots of community partners, businesses that partner with us. And it's just amazing to go out there and ask, because, the trick is if you never ask, the answer is always no. And I'm not great about asking for money, so I ask for things. For our backpack event, I say, hey, give us backpacks, collect school supplies. For Christmas, it was angel trees all over St. Cloud, Orlando, Kissimmee, amazing organizations and amazing businesses and amazing community members that stepped up and took these I call them angels, they're hearts. They're in the shape of our logo. And it has the child's age, gender, what they want, what they're looking for. And a lot of that was fulfilled. And we were able to pass that along, obviously, to the parents so that these children will have Christmas Day.
That's phenomenal, John. First and foremost, 12 years of doing this, making history in Central Florida and the world. So I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. You are changing lives, joy to not only that kid, to the family, but joy back to ourselves, because giving is receiving something, right? So I appreciate everything you're doing, especially this season right here. John, 12 years in doing this. Love to hear from you and those listening in. Probably want to start a nonprofit. What challenges or lessons learned you love to share with them today?
So with a nonprofit, you have to do it for the right reasons. You have to figure out what your mission is. What do you want to accomplish? What do you want your legacy to be? What do you want, like, when your nonprofit continues? You have to be focused, figure out what your mission is. What is your passion? My passion is children, veterans, and teachers and first responders. So find your passion, focus your mission on that, and it'll all fall together. And then work at duplicating it, get your volunteers, and because you can't do it yourself. If you can duplicate your efforts, you get somebody in Orlando who is giving out backpacks at back to school, and you get somebody in Kissimmee who is collecting gifts. They have a different set of friends, a different world they live in, so they're able to get that effort out there, because the need is great. I mean, it just blows me away, when we get these lists from the schools and the guidance counselors and the police departments and the fire departments of these families in need, and that focus. I think focus is the word.
And focus indeed. Now, you guys have focused for 12 years, an amazing run, and I know many more years to come. So what's on the horizon for A Hero for Kids?
We're going to keep doing what we do. We're not changing direction. We're originally we focused on literacy, and we're still focusing on literacy. We collect thousands of books every year and distribute them to little libraries. The VA Lake Nona has 2 little libraries up there that every time I go for an appointment, I got books in my trunk just in case it needs to be filled. Little libraries all over town. Here in Kissimmee, we donate books to the literacy night at the schools, at the local schools. We help support their PBIS program with little gifts that the kids can earn as they're doing good deeds and doing good things. So, A Hero for Kids is going to continue doing what we do. We love the community. We love the folks that support us. We're just going to keep on marching.
Keep marching on, indeed. Little libraries, I love it. Reading and writing is definitely something that it's far reach from our youth today. So it's something needed, reading and writing. So I appreciate everything you're doing with the little libraries, John. As you call yourself, Batman from the Bronx, the Bombers. I love it. So we switch gears. We talk about your mom, signing you off into the United States Army when you were 17. And you had definitely some great journeys as far as leadership. So what skills do you do or do you use to sharpen your skill set to thrive in your professional life?
So I'm a reader. I love reading. I love reading books and holding books. So leadership books, believe it or not, are my favorite. I love to dog ear the books. I love to highlight them, the things that make an impact on me. Ken Blanchard, the 1 Minute Manager series, Jim Collins, Good to Great. Colin Powell wrote a great book, man. It worked for me. Amazing. I mean, you talk about a man, a general, a leader, just great little skill sets in there. And I take, I always say, if I take one thing away from a 300-page book, it was worth the read. Absolutely worth the read. There's a quote that I love. Empowerment is something someone gives you. Self-leadership is what you do to make it work. So I think self-leadership, before you can lead others, you have to learn how to lead yourself. I'm going to be the hardest working guy in the room. I'm going to be there first. I'm going to leave last. If you're not early, you're late. That type of philosophy. Lead by example. Do as I do. I've never been about do as I say. It's got to be do as I do, and getting people to buy into your leadership.
Great tips indeed. And I love that quote because it's truly impactful. You having the capacity to do something and you doing it is two different things, right? And so in leadership, you just got to do it. So as you was growing up, not only in the Bronx, because there's a lot of lessons there, but as you growing up in the military, in the army, you learned and were recipient of a lot of advices. So what advice did you receive that you would like to pass on to an emerging leader today?
So I think the most important thing is do as I do. You can't, in the military, people do things because they have to. I give an order, you give an order, you do it, you follow orders. It changes dramatically, as you know, when you come out in leadership in the civilian world, because now people can just say, I'm not doing that. I don't feel like it. I'm not coming in today. My head hurts. I need a personal day, that kind of stuff. It didn't happen. So I think the most important thing is do as I do, and uh, understand that you have to get people to buy into the reason that you're asking them to do this, and then show them what the result will be of doing.
Oh, absolutely. Different than do what I say, right? Do what I do, right? Follow your actions. It's totally great advice you give these leaders, emerging leaders today. Now, John, also love to hear about a memorable leadership aha moment you've had that you'd like to share with our audience as well.
I think it goes back to the when I realized that you have to get people to want to do what you're asking them to do. That hit me like a ton of bricks. It was kind of like I'm giving these instructions, I'm giving these orders, I'm giving these suggestions to people, and then I realized that I'm not telling them why. I'm not explaining the reason. I'm not being clear on we have to do this because I was really, it was really, with me, it was black and white. We have to do this. So we did it. And then being able to get people, or getting people to buy into the why. And that, when that hit me, it was like, man, it suddenly changed my direction. It changed the way I led. It changed, you always say you manage inventory and you lead people. That is so true. You cannot manage people, you have to lead.
Leading is one of the greatest challenges of life when you have to not only motivate yourself to do a thing, but then also interpret that motivation into inspiration for someone else to say, yeah, you can have me as a follower. So great comment there. And talking about challenges in the nonprofit world, there's plenty of challenges. Business in general, there are challenges. But what are certain strategies that you used with yourself and your team to deal with those times of change and challenges?
Yeah, I think conflict resolution is big. In the nonprofit world, lots of conflict, conflicting messages coming from other organizations, conflicting messages coming from the news media. You always hear about the nonprofit that the CEO took trips to Paris to see how other nonprofits work, and all of the craziness. So there's always that cloud over a nonprofit, and adapting, adapting to the change. When COVID hit, believe it or not, in October of COVID year, we did our gala. I said, we are not going to shut down. We did our Christmas distribution. We made it a drive-through distribution. We did our back to school. It was a drive-through, and we found that by adapting that way, now we do back to school and Christmas has drive-throughs now because it works so well, that so adapting to change, handling criticism, man, it's funny and I call them keyboard warriors, folks that sit and criticize, that's all they do. Man, I didn't see you behind me when we were working these 16, 18-hour days collecting and packing, getting ready for these events. But you sure do have an opinion on how to do it. Come out, put those opinions and that criticism to work with us. And then always insufficient resources, trying, I bet we could probably help 1,000 kids on Christmas, or 1,500 kids, or 2,000 kids, with the right resources, with the building and the room to do it. I always say that during back to school, my home looks like a Staples warehouse that's been mismanaged. And during Christmas, it looks like there was a bunch of drunk elves throwing stuff all over the place. So it's just like, if we had, my dream has always been like a 50,000 square foot warehouse with tables and people in there sorting and bagging and collecting, and a place for people to drop off. I mean, it surprises folks when they say, hey, I got school supplies or Christmas supplies to drop off. And we say, I just drop it at our house. How about your office? Don't have them, not going to waste resources on an office. So that's just me, man. That's the challenges we face.
Huge challenges, but great strategies, adapting, those keyboard warriors, you definitely don't take into account what they say because they not in the arena like you are, right? All day taking spears and arrows and dodging bullets. And I love everything I heard. John, it's been a pleasure having you. Now, folks listening in, how do they get a hold of you or A Hero for Kids?
So the best way is to go to our website, which is aheroforkids.org. You can also email John at aheroforkids.org.
Outstanding. Now, folks, we will have that information as part of the show notes and video for you to get a hold of John Batman and his great organization to be able to help kids. And it's just a wonderful thing to see and hear. It's been a great pleasure to host you on this final year-end episode as we celebrate Christmas and go into the new year. And folks, if you want to get a hold of the Leadership Void podcast, the Leadership Void at gmail.com is where you'll send that correspondence. If you'd like for us to feature a specific guest or a leadership topic, you'll do it by those means.
And also, don't forget, we have great sponsors all year round. Thank you, VEI, FAVOB, and Triple Nickel for being our sponsors. But again, as Enrique mentioned, it's all about John Batman today. Thank you for doing everything for 12 years and 12 more to come and helping out those 1,500, 15,000 soon kids. And anything we can do, please click like. Love everything John is doing, and we'll see you soon. Have a happy and Merry Christmas and New Year, guys.